What did it mean to you growing up? What was Archie's for you personally? And what was the pitch that sold you on doing the film?
Archie's for me was my go-to escape. It was the only thing that I could relate to in terms of teenagers. I mean, I was an Enid Blyton fan as well, so I read the Famous Five to a certain age, and Archie through my life. I don't remember ever not reading Archie comics. It was our portal to the West. I think it was a different lifestyle because at that time we didn't even really have any real television programming. Right. We had 2 hours on Sunday.
This is pre Bold and Beautiful and pre Santa Barbara.
Pre everything, and it was also the only thing out there about teenagers. So as a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, you just aspired to have that gang of friends and have that life. So Archie meant the world.
Rima?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what convinced me, it was just 2 words, the Archies. I was like, oh wow, let's do this. And then obviously the next was, okay, how?
Yeah.
But so I grew up and, at home it was really big. And whenever we got a new Archie, my sister and me would fight about who'd read it first.
Yeah.
And then my dad would come in and pull rank and read it first himself. So, yeah, it was a big part of my growing up. And that's why it's wonderful for Tiger Baby to do this with Netflix. It's lovely to be here at IFFI with Sharad and John because it's been a long journey and we're kind of reaching the finish line now.
You know the thing about taking something that you love and that means to you and sort of putting your take on it, it's also a bit, I would imagine, a bit terrifying that you don't want to screw it up. It's meant something to you. You don't want, and also you know that there's a legacy of fans. What was your into the film, and was it an easy yes to do it?
It was an easy yes, and then panic. I mean, what am I going to do? But I think my in to this was honestly, I love it.
Yeah.
I think it was just love, and I wanted to put that feeling, like what you said, because the comics, they're episodic in nature. Now we are converting it into a 2-hour narrative. But that feeling that you get when you read that comic as a 12-year-old, I just wanted to transmit that feeling to someone that watches the film.
Also because there's just so many stories, right? This has to be an establishing story. You have to introduce the characters, you have to create the world, but it also needs to have a plot.
I mean, the first thing I think that led us was that, the brief was that we keep the characters. Yeah. We don't, we needed them to be Archie Andrew and Veronica Lodge, Betty Cooper and Reginald Mantle. So I think we needed to root them somewhere.
Yeah.
Once we found that, and obviously we needed a fit where even culturally it's not just the names,
right.
It's also culturally, so the Anglo-Indian community, it seemed to sit really well.
And the fact that so much of it is English, right?
Yeah. Though in my head, Betty Cooper's Parsi, but we'll see. Yeah. But so it was about setting them in a community that also had the potential to retain what the original Archies had.
Right.
Because there is music, the kind of food, there was a bit, there were a little more, there was a dating culture, there were a little more, the fashion, they were a little more westernized.
Yeah.
So it seemed to sit well, and once we got that, I think it was fun. But before that, it was stressful. You were like, "Ha bol diya, lekin ab kya kare?"
John, you have a personal connection with the Archies, of course. Tell me, what are you hoping this film will achieve in terms of sort of strengthening and perhaps taking the legacy forward?
Well, one of the things that Zoya and Rima did so brilliantly is, and we've touched on it a little bit, but it can't be said enough, is they've kept the integrity of what Archie's all about, which is friendship, family, community. I mean, that's foundational to what we're about, right? And so it's interesting because we had this TV show Riverdale,
yes,
which was pretty successful, but that was just one heightened version of what the Archies were, right? What this film is, what our new film is, it's really goes back to the roots and the beginning of what this whole IP is all about. And what I'm hoping, of course, is that because this is a more authentic version of what Archie is, that you know, through the wonderful power of Netflix, people around the world really get to learn and know and love what Archie is all about, because it's in the film. It's all there. All the characters are there. And I have to tell you, you know, it may be an overused word, but it's authentic.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I love the most about this movie. It's authentic to what the Archies are all about. And I'm hoping people around the world love it and embrace it as much as I do. And my whole Archie team in New York loves this. So, you know, from Archie Ground Zero, the real people who are going to really take a look at it, oh my God, they've fallen in love with this thing. They really have.
You know, Zoya and Rima, when you're writing this, is there a pressure, or maybe pressure is not, it has a bit of a negative connotation. Is there, are you writing it saying we need to make this authentic, we need to tell the story, but it needs to work for a global audience? In that, is it different from writing a gully boy or writing a Bollywood film?
Firstly, we co-wrote this with Aisha Dimitri.
That's right.
And she's not here, but we've co-written it with Aisha Dimitri, so we just want to bring her here.
Of course.
Yeah. No, this had a multi-layers, not just like it needs to work for India and the world, because you are on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's going to go to 190
Correct.
countries.
Correct.
I'm representing here and I'm representing the Indian film industry, and I need to speak a language
Right.
that can connect to anyone. Like we went to Brazil for Tudo,
Yeah.
and it was insane, the fans. So you are aware that it has to connect to home base,
Right.
but it's on a platform that goes to these countries and it needs to hold up,
Yeah.
you know. The second thing is, we are talking about a generation, we're talking about 1964,
Yeah.
but that needs to connect to Gen Z,
Correct.
which is 2023. That's another distance you have to cover. So there were many, then you had to connect to Archie fans
Yeah.
that are going to come in there for nostalgia,
Yeah.
and they're going to come in there to judge you,
yeah.
and then you're going to connect to people that do not know Archie at all, and they're going to be like, okay, so what is this?
What's this?
Does this hold up?
Yeah.
So there were a lot of boxes to tick.